speaker is an industry luminary who himself has empowered countless entrepreneurs to conquer their dreams. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming the MD and CEO of IDFC First Bank, V. Vaidyanathan.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to see every one of you today about the leaders of tomorrow. We have been at IDFC First Bank and earlier in Avatar as Capital First been involved with leaders of tomorrow for many years now, maybe 7 years or so. So our association goes very deep. Compared to many other programs and rewards and accolades which support large entrepreneurs like the ones of the Economic Times Excellence Awards and so on, this one focuses on the medium-sized entrepreneurs, the small and the micro entrepreneurs who are very significant part of the Indian ecosystem. So for us, this is a core constituency. Our whole company entity created by this entity. So we have a very deep commitment to that. If there's one message I'd like to leave for entrepreneurs who are watching this program on the very special occasion of the Leaders of Tomorrow Awards function, it is to just share with you as we see it from our world as well as when we see around how rapidly this digitization is happening around us. If you're any entrepreneur, if you're the services industry, your manufacturing industry, your agriculture industry, any industry that you are, there is a very rapid wave of digitization coming, and it is not going to spare anyone at all. So definitely Indian economy will recover, everything will be fine. Depends on who's standing at that point of time. Is the person who's able to navigate the digital system in an agile manner. I'll give you one example if that helps you in any way. You see Kirana shops all around us. There are 1.5 crore such Kirana shops across the country. It's really the last battle to be won, because that's the hardest one to battle, because this is normally traditional entrepreneurs sitting in the shop from morning to night, maybe with a husband and wife and a small shop selling chips and that kind of stuff. Close to about 25% of Kirana shops in the country have some sort of digitization, and 75% have no digitization at all. Now, even those who have are tending to have either a POS machine, which is rare, but certainly the MPOS or the QR code, that's the traditional definition of digitization. But that's not all. Just in that world, dramatic changes are happening. Because if you're a small entrepreneur or a shopkeeper, you probably need inventory management. There is some fintech that is coming in giving inventory management as a layer, Udan, Ninja Cart. There are entrepreneurs like that who do that. Then therefore delivery, closer to the home, if you want to make delivery, there are some delivery shops available. This Zomato, Swiggy, all these people are now beginning to enter into that ecosystem and start doing delivery. Then if you want to pay taxes, then again it can be done online. Apps are doing it, ClearTax is doing it. Now, if basically, if you want credit, then many banks are now providing apps for that and giving online connectivity. FMCG companies want to do end-to-end connect into the Kirana ecosystem and want to provide them a platform where they can provide inventory management, credit, delivery, the whole ecosystem and so on. So just that last holy grail of digitization is the hardest to crack. They're being digitized in a very massive way, not just for accepting payments. So I gave you 5 examples of how the entire ecosystem of the Kirana shop system is going to completely digitized massively. If you take that as one example, and then you'll find it. You'll understand why the gaming industry is changing, the education industry is changing, the banking industry is changing, financial services is changing, mutual funds is changing, investments is changing. Everything. So therefore, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're able to navigate this, you'll be fine. If you're not, then there's going to be trouble in the next few years. The second part is the amount of changes. Rather, the item number 2 I'd like to talk about is this pace at which how the government of India and the RBI moved when the ecosystem dramatically changed because of COVID. And at the government level alone, I'll just count 4-5 quick ones just to get the context right. 1.7 lakh crores transferred to the poor through the DBT system, the front loading of PM Kisan scheme, IT refunds up to 5 lakh rupees, 3 lakh crores of emergency credit guarantee scheme, new definition of MSME, new definition of PSL. The list is so long that all in quick session, rapid fire in the last maybe 2 or 3 months. Again to give us confidence, RBI, so agile, TLTRO1, TLTRO2, 1.5 lakh crore, moratorium, restructuring programs, NHB CDB given 50,000 crores, CRR reduced, MSF reduced, LCR reduced. So just see how big part of the play, which is government and RBI all moving in this ecosystem to deal with the situation. Further, government has put through reforms, commercial mining allowed, labor reforms, APMC reform, you name it. Basically, things are happening all around us, and that's very good for India and good for everybody. It's going to affect everybody in the ecosystem. In the end, I'd like to say every cycle recovers. We've seen the global financial crisis. We've seen, implementation of GST. We saw implementation of demonetization. This too will recover because end of the day, human beings are consuming people from birth to death. People are only consuming, right? When a child is born, it's consuming baby diapers and maybe consuming milk. When the person is growing up, they're consuming education. They're consuming two-wheelers. Then they want to consume cars. They want to consume flights. They want to travel. So consumption of human beings of food, shelter, clothing, they'll keep going on all the while. So consumption will come back whether today or tomorrow, day after, and we got to figure out how well positioned we are to take advantage of that. So on that note, I want to sign off. I want to just say a very big word of congratulations once again, and to every one of you who are having any relationship with our bank, I want to say a very big thank you to all of you.
Back to when you were a young man in your 30s, having a plush job with ICICI and rearing to go and climbing the corporate ladder very, very, very fast. How did you dream that you wanted to hold a banking license one day?
I'm still in my journey, so I can't call myself extraordinarily successful or anything like that. I think I'm only 52 and I have much more to look forward to. But to the extent it helps you, at that point of time, India was growing so fast and so much. So I always used to feel that, if I felt that RBI won't give a license because I'm just an individual and you won't get it. So I came up with an idea saying that why don't you take a stake in one non-banking finance company and then build something so unique in that company and then go back to the RBI for a license. And by the way, even Uday could have got a banking license like that. I just felt that there's a very big opportunity, and I think I had a reasonably good image. So I thought I might chance my luck.
I want to take you back to some areas of your own personal career where you've bet pretty big. Your punt has been pretty big, and it could have gone either way. And I want to go back to the part where you identified an NBFC, and it was a loss-making NBFC, and you decided to take that big risk and buy it out and buy its shares. And what was the kind of belief that was driving you to take such a great risk?
What's at stake is basically that, if it fails, then you are a nobody. So that's a very big risk to take actually, because you don't get a job at ED of ICICI Bank again, and you got to hunt your life all over again. But that was the risk. The second thing that's at stake was that it is financial, because at some stage I got leveraged. I had to borrow close to about 70 to 80 crore rupees personally to buy this, to get access to the stake. So yeah, it can go either way. But like I said before, if it ends well, we are here to tell the tale. So many entrepreneurs must have tried these things and may not have worked. But I think appreciation to all the people who tried.
When you were raising those 80 crores, I mean, 80 crores is no mean feat. None of us can think about it. What all did you have to put at stake? I believe there was at one time, when I think you bought it for 162 rupees and it went down to 100 rupees. These are very serious situations in one's life. What was it going through your mind? A lot of entrepreneurs, I think, who look up to you, who are hearing this, would like to know, in a situation where you feel that it's a complete dead end. How do you muster the courage to stick it out?
It does look like dead end. Yeah, it is true. I had bought the stock at 162 and stock came down to 130, later to 100 at some stage, and some freak crash. So lenders started calling and asking for, more margin cover. So whatever I had at stake, I had a house, I had investment in a property which is under construction. So I valued that property and also gave it as a security. The business model we were building is very unique. I thought that can create a lot of value. So my game plan is very simple. I thought I'll buy the stock at 160 rupees. At someday it will appreciate. Maybe if I give it 3 or 4 or 5 years, because it's a fundamentally good model. When share price will go up, at that time I will sell it and close my loan, and I'll keep the balance. These are classical leveraged buyout models. So I had learned about this even at Harvard Business School, and I think I was actually implementing it. So that's what it is. So yeah, to your question, of course, it's very stressful. We bought it, and later business is not in good shape, or you don't get funding lines from banks, or you don't get equity. These things can be, of course, very stressful. But I'm not alone. I think every entrepreneur today in Corona is facing similar stress.
Was there at any point you said, "Oh my God, what have I done?" I had everything going well for me. I was doing well. I had a good corporate job. I had a fancy salary, a good life. What is this that I've got myself into? Were there times where you second guessed your decisions?
Yes, it happened at least once or twice. I think around 2011 or 12, this 2G scam had broken out. There was one story about one company called Money Matters, which was, I think, there was some issue at that end, and suddenly all banks stopped lending because it felt like a scam, almost lending those days. So yeah, I mean, I felt this is really going nowhere, and it did feel terrible for that moment. But I did believe that if you keep trying, there will be a backing from some private equity, because I was only one good stroke away from success, and that stroke was one big private equity backing. And I somehow knew that if you have a good model, people will back it.
And tell me that moment when, this very audacious idea of you finally owning a bank came to fruition when you met Mr. Lal.
I don't call owning a bank and all. In my case, of course, I got diluted along the way. And I think it happens to all first generation entrepreneurs. You can have 20% or 15% of capital first, but by the time you merge and you raise more equity, you keep diluting down. But that's okay. The way I think about it is that when that option came, I grabbed it with both hands. I didn't negotiate very much because there was our share price had gone up very sharply in the last 6 years. Our share price had gone up from like 100 to some 800 or something. So we just said, whatever the share price in the market, just value it at market and just do it. And it was we did it pretty quick because I had only one objective, that we had to get a banking license. And through the merger, we were getting a banking license. It was too important to me.
Today, in the context of COVID-19, as you're aware, small businesses are completely, fractured. And, while the commentary around is that, yes, there is so much being done, the point is on ground, the reality is pretty brutal. There is lots of confusion amongst entrepreneurs. What would you recommend to entrepreneurs who just don't know what to go? Stay put, turn right, left, or just, fold?
Now, when you see of entrepreneurs, the main thing is being I would say that in these stress times, willingness to dilute willingness to dilute. I knew when merging capital first at IDFC Bank, I knew that our stake will come down, my personal stake will come down, but willingness to dilute for a bigger cause or a bigger. So again, if any of the entrepreneurs are able to get equity from venture capital, are able to get money from private equity, many times they sit on valuation saying that, oh my God, the stock was 1,000, now it's 200, I can't dilute at this price. People keep holding on till one day it goes bust, and then they don't know where to look. We've seen that in the case of one airline in India. We've seen that in the case of another company in India, which is all public. So my commentary is that if you can raise equity, quickly raise equity. And number two, to the extent that we can, what you said, pivot online, we need to do that. This COVID and the video and Zoom and all these things actually is very positive for the services industry, and people should see the power of that if they can pivot.
Given the context of COVID-19 and how the ecosystem has changed, or rather forced to change because of that, what would you say the new environment in the COVID era and the post-COVID era will look like?
First of all, it won't be a pre-COVID and a post-COVID. The post-COVID itself is so dramatically changing. It's so crazy. And some businesses also will improve actually. For example, laptops and tablets. People figure out that now in the post-COVID, now we need tablets to connection. So children don't have tablets at school. So they are ordering tablets now. What I'm trying to say is that there's just so many things happening in terms of digital architecture creation.
I appreciate your optimism, but just to take a look at the reality that stares us at the face today. The first quarter GDP growth numbers are out, and they are a depressing, stand at a negative 23.9%. And, if you, and they'll probably be a lot worse if we take the estimates of the damage of the informal sector. So while yes, there is a lot of commentary that we are currently in a transition and things will bounce back, the current reality looks so grim and the future looks actually quite ugly. Unemployment rates are also going up the roof. So when you look at the situation like that, as an industry leader, how many years do you see us going through this painful process before we kind of recoup?
No, I don't deny at all. I agree with you. There is serious stress. Okay, there's no doubt at all, and entrepreneurs are stressed and so on. All the numbers you said, the GDP numbers are bad, minus 20%. EPFO numbers are down. Sales of almost every consumer durables, etc., are down. Everything is true. But the thing is that it always feels like this when the chips are down and going downhill. But if you see 1 year forward or 2 year forward, if you see something is minus 60%, you will see plus 60%, because that's how the story will play out, right? Because eventually it's coming off a very low base. And if you see GDP, if you see that car sales down to 40%, next year probably you'll see plus 40%. But issue is, how do you live through this period? Because if you live through this period, you can enjoy the upswing also. But if you how do you live? And I mean this really for entrepreneurs, mid, small, large, everybody, certainly the mid and the small. How do you live through this period? Now I feel that because the regulators have come out and given this option for moratorium 2.0, and the government has given out the program of 3 lakh crores, which is basically, by the way, I must tell you, the government is really pushing it, and they're reaching out to banks and saying how much of the money have you actually dispersed. And actually it's very impressive to see that. So when you get that kind of cash, take the cash, live through a period of a year or so, and then hope to catch back the Indian recovery cycle. So that's one way, because cash is auction. If you run out of cash, you're in trouble. And if you really have trouble, then go ask for restructuring, because now the RBI is also permitting restructuring. So I do think banks will support that. Even we will support that.
How would you foresee now that one will see the payment moratoria actually coming to an end? How do you see that panning out? It looks like there will be some casualty as we approach that.
Unfortunately, there could be some small entrepreneurs who are stuck in the middle of that ecosystem, and digital or no digital, they're just on a flat foot. And maybe some of them are already stressed even before the COVID, and maybe COVID has really knocked them. These things do happen. These are reality. From the our point of view, I feel that end of the day, the retail consumers always have an intention to pay. Nobody wants to have a tag of a defaulter and carry it all their lives. Credit bureau record gets spoiled, etc. So there may be delays, but people eventually, after 5 or 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, will pay. Now they could end of the day still be some casualties, and for that only banking system has raised equity. I must tell you that in the last maybe year or so, 5 6 months or so, banking system has raised close to about 1 lakh crores of equity. Certainly private sector banks have, and state banks have anyway, have government of India for support. So I think that's very strong. So banking system is strong because it raised equity.
Would you say, Mr. Vaidyanathan, that because of COVID, there will be a streamlining of the MSME sector, and there will be a tightening of that space, because now anybody who is unfit to travel to the post-COVID era will be left out, and so what we'll be left with is a somewhat healthier sector, because it will be only those who have been agile enough to change, pivot, and manage this, and hence this sector will hold more promise.
That's true. I mean, but it's a very sad way of putting it. I feel that the government is putting effort on this and should continue to put effort on this. I have always believed that the tax structures for small entrepreneurs should not be the same, because India has the same corporate tax rate. Everybody pays 25%. I say, why should a small entrepreneurs pay 25%? If the big boys are paying, we can pay. We are a large bank. We can pay 25%. But small entrepreneurs pay 5%, 2%, 0%, because we can't change the fact that the interest rates will be high. That's a market economy. But if we can reduce that, then I feel that they should get some shoulder, or they can get some shoulder. I've made this request to the government of India, not for us, but really from the entrepreneur's point of view, saying that why should they pay 25? Pay them, ask them to pay 5% up to a certain threshold. At least they have some relief over the big boys.
I think for the small entrepreneurs who are watching this, you will be their hero for mentioning this.
I've been pushing this theory for many years, saying that they should pay much lesser tax rate. But to your second part of the conversation, I would say that to the people listening to the program, that if you can spend the money, spend. This whole thing about saying that trying to conserve money and being modest about spending, etc. It's all okay in okay times. If I spend money, it is income for someone else. If you spend money, it's income for someone else. If I have one message for the viewers, I'd say if you have money that is spare at hand, please spend it. I too am spending as much as I can.
I think that's a noble thing that each one contributes to the economy and try and spend and provide livelihoods as much as we can. Thank you so much, Mr. Vaidyanathan. This has been truly insightful, and thank you for your candid speak. And hopefully, the next time when we speak, things will have turned for the better, and we would be looking at much better prospects as an economy and of course, for small businesses in India. Thank you so much for your time.